Welcome back to another episode of the Inside Scoop. Today we are going to be going over what is an ordinary and necessary expense when it comes to tax deductions. So let's dive on in. Hi, I'm Heather, a wedding and senior photographer based in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and on this channel I love to help other photographers understand and manage their taxes as a small business owner, streamline their systems so that they can spend more time with family and friends, and I also love to give a little sneak peek into my life here and there. Now, as I mentioned on today's episode, we are going to be diving into what an ordinary and necessary expense is when it comes to your taxes as a small business owner. The IRS states that any expense that you want to use as a write-off needs to be ordinary and necessary for your business. And basically, that means something that is relevant for your business and also a necessity for your business to function. Now, we're going to go into exactly what those mean and break down a little bit farther in a little bit based off of what the IRS says. But I want you to know that the IRS actually says the responsibility for deciding if an expense is ordinary and necessary falls on the taxpayer. The IRS gives a few guidelines on how to determine that, but overall, the end determination of if something is ordinary and necessary actually falls on the taxpayer. So make sure to understand these two types of expenses so that you are correctly categorizing those expenses as a write-off in your business. And it's also very important to make sure that any receipts that are for business expenses should have something noted on there what that expense was used for, so that if for some reason down the line you would get audited, you can easily prove to the IRS that this expense is ordinary and necessary. Okay, let's dive in to exactly what an ordinary expense is. The IRS states that an ordinary expense is a common and accepted expense in your industry. So it's one that a lot of business owners in your trade use and commonly have as an expense throughout the year. A necessary expense is one that is helpful and appropriate for your trade or business. So it's one that you need to have your business function and to be able to streamline or be able to just use any programs so that your business can fully function as it should. Now, the two of them combined is what needs to happen for that expense to be considered a write-off and a tax deduction for your income when you're paying those annual taxes. So a few examples of ordinary and necessary expenses that the IRS gives are things like employee compensation or independent contractors, rental expenses, your taxes that you owe, interest and insurance, and then also things like software and uniforms that are common in your business trade. So, excuse me. So that is just an overview of some of the examples that the IRS gives, but if you're able to prove that something in your business is considered ordinary and necessary, then you can use that as an expense at the end of the year for your taxes. I hope you found that helpful and I was able to dive in and uncover exactly what the IRS is looking for when it comes to ordinary and necessary expenses. But if you have any other questions, feel free to drop them below in the comments. I would love to help answer them and make it a little bit more understandable for you so that you can make sure you are doing it correctly for your taxes. Also, if you found this video helpful, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that you can be aware when a new video drops here on the Inside Scoop. And thank you again so much for joining me this week. I can't wait to see you in the next one. See you guys.